I'm delighted that this season of Crazy Sexy Food is sponsored by premium appliance manufacturer Miele. Over the last few years, I have got close to this incredible brand through Tom Kerridge's Pub in the Park festival, where I've had the pleasure to watch and eat dishes prepared by some of the UK's finest chefs using Miele. I was also invited to a special event by the brand at the fabulous S10 Park, which features Miele throughout, with lunch cooked by one of the UK's most exciting and innovative restaurateurs, Tommy Banks. If you are on a kitchen journey, I would highly recommend a visit to one of its experience centres, where you will not only receive bespoke advice, but can also join one of the many courses to experience its appliances firsthand, including getting to enjoy lots of delicious food. Excitingly, it's opening a new Mayfair store, which is just opposite the Ritz, a great way to spend an afternoon. This year is an exciting milestone for the family-owned company, who will be celebrating its 125th anniversary. And while Miele continues to innovate, it stays true to its motto, Immer besser, which means forever better. The majority of its products are put through tough durability tests during the development phase to simulate 20 years' use. For ovens, this includes opening and closing the door 24,000 times. To celebrate the partnership, Miele is kindly giving my listeners 10% off its fabulous appliances on miele.co.uk or through its experience centres until September with the code CrazyMiele. Today I'm joined by my first dame, and that is Dame Prue Leith to you all. She joins me here from room 221 at the Four Seasons Hotel London in Park Lane, and we're about to partake in some serious room service and some fun conversation. Known around the country and the world, actually, as one half of the Great British Bake Off judges, Prue has been at the forefront of cookery, baking, writing, and so much more since she was a young woman. Hailing from South Africa, she is what I would consider a national treasure, both on and off screen. Prue, what an honour. Welcome to Crazy Sexy Food.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
It's so lovely to have you here. We've just met. I've put on my glasses for you today. That's how much excited I was.
They are really good. Your glasses. I mean, they're not by me,
no,
but I still think they're great.
You are very much known for bright colours, fabulous accessories, glasses, jewellery. What is it about all of that you love so much?
Well, I mean, the truth is that I just love colour, and so I sort of pile it on. And 12 years ago, when I married my husband, he was a fashion designer, and he loved the colour, and he just kept saying more of it, more of it. So quite often I have some outrageous earrings or something, and I say, "Do you think these are too much?" And he says, "No, but wear the necklace as well." You know?
I love
he
that.
always pushes me to do more. So it's a bit extreme for some old lady.
And I mean, today you are, this shirt, I have to say, is absolutely stunning.
I know.
I mean, it's just, you probably need a second career in fashion now.
Well, I do. Am I allowed to plug my...
darling, plug whatever you need
plug
to
what
plug.
I like. Well, I do have a range with Kettlewell, and Kettlewell are a really great company because they have every colour you've ever thought of, and they're terrific on colour, and so I teamed up with them, and so I do a lot of... This is a Kettlewell jacket, for example.
We're going to sort of get into your career, but you are sort of one of the busiest women that I know. You are obviously Great British Bake Off, but you've had this incredible, illustrious career that sort of goes from sort of catering businesses, restaurants, books...
I mean, you say I've done an awful lot in my life, and it's true, but then I've had a very long life. I've had lots of time to do it. So I'll be 84 next week.
You
so
look
quite
absolutely
old.
Incredible.
With
no
no
signs of stopping.
Well, no, I will stop. I mean, I'm not neurotic. I want to, but while I'm enjoying things, and I still think there are things to do. And, well, why not have a go?
Absolutely.
But I won't go on forever.
No, you will.
Well, I won't. No, I don't want to get to the stage when Bake Off says to me, Prue, I really think you ought to perhaps stop because, I don't want to be, already I feel quite sort of stiff, and and I need a ramp. I'm not good at getting up big steps.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be that old lady who has to be helped everywhere, because I think in the end they'll think, well, I want to leave before they tell me to leave.
Right, okay, fine, okay. No,
but
I get what
I don't
you're
want
saying.
to leave yet.
No, absolutely. No, you're not leaving yet. Don't worry, I'll make sure of that. You also have a new series on at the moment, which is super exciting, which is called Prue Leith's Cotswold Kitchen.
Yeah,
Tell us a little bit about that, because this is sort of your first sort of thing.
It's the first
thing you're doing sort of on your own, so to speak.
Yes, I mean, years ago in the 70s, I presented a programme which I was terrible at. For Tyne Tees television up in the near Newcastle, but it's my first show, and it's a cooking show. It's what's sometimes called chop and chat.
Yeah, I know a good old chop and chat.
Good old chop and chat, but it's not just that, because I didn't want it to be just that. So there's a lot of. We live in the Cotswolds, so we have fantastic, what I call food heroes. There are people who smoke, make salami and smoke wonderful pork products. And then there's a fantastic bunch of boys called the Smoking Brothers who make the best smoked salmon.
Oh, lovely.
And then there are cheese makers, and we have bees. And so my husband comes in and he does all this, he goes off and interviews these people and finds out how they make their cheese and how the local, we have sheep on our farm. And so he was trying to learn how to train sheepdogs. He wasn't very good at it.
So your husband's very much involved in the show.
He is, and we made a gardening program a little while ago, the pair of us, and he did all this sort of. He always says, she's the creation, and I'm destruction. So I think of what we want to do, and then he goes around with a chainsaw and sees that it happens. And so we did a gardening program together, and he was very funny in it, and he was great. So it seemed a good idea, since we were really filming it in our own house, and my kitchen would be taken over entirely for 2 weeks while we filmed 10 programs. So I just thought he's got to be involved, otherwise he'll be rather resentful.
No, and also I like that. I think it's quite nice if you have that sort of dynamic. I think it's quite nice to work with your partner. And
it's a huge fun. We had it not. My only regret is he's so bloody good at it that I think next time it'll be John Playfair's Cotswold Kitchen, and I'll be lucky if I get a walk-on park.
He might be the next Bake-Off judge before you know it.
I know. I mean, he could easily take over. He's very, very good.
I love that. I'd love to take it back a little bit. So, as I said in the intro, born and raised in South Africa, I'd love for you to kind of paint the picture of that time. What was life like growing up? But sort of from the angle of food, who was cooking? What were you eating?
Well, the thing about what used to be the colonies, Australia and Canada and South Africa, they were always a little bit behind the mother country. So we were a bit more old-fashioned. I remember when I first came to England as 17-year-old, I was sort of amazed at the freedom that girls had in the 60s and 70s. In England, because we were really quite strictly brought up. But from a food point of view, it was sort of British, but hugely improved by the fact that there's sun. I mean, we had, when I first came to England, I was so shocked that a salad meant, a lettuce leaf, a sliced tomato, sliced cucumber, a very vinegary sliced beetroot, and salad dressing, out of a bottle. And it was just awful and boring. But in South Africa we had sweet corn and pineapple salads and avocados and passion fruit and pawpaw. And so I think we ate better. On the other hand, we still had a lot of Christmas, for example. We had, this is in the middle of summer, blazing hot South African summer, and we would have roast turkey and plum pudding and sherry on the lawn.
Oh, divine.
just absolutely classic Christmas, but it would all be, just so unsuitable for the middle. But we loved it because it was British. And my mother went to enormous lengths to get sprouts, because sprouts were what you had with turkey. And nobody grows sprouts in South Africa. And so we had them in tins. And have you ever eaten a tin sprout?
No.
It is the most disgusting thing
So were
in the
they
world.
cooked in tin?
Yes,
Like they're all...
yes.
No, okay.
Soggy, boiled sprouts.
Okay.
Overcooked like anything.
So your mother was the primary cook?
No, she wasn't. We had a cook.
Oh, you had a cook.
I mean, we had such a privileged life in South Africa. We had a wonderful childhood. We lived outside. We were on the beach. We were in, we went to holidays to the game reserves. But when we were just at home, we had a 3-acre garden, and we would just be pushed out into the garden. And they didn't actually mind if we ventured further. We could go anywhere we liked because it was very safe. But when I look back, it seems amazing because we were almost unaware of apartheid because we lived in a very, black people lived over there in a location, so-called location. Privileged white people lived in suburbs with big gardens and servants and so on. And so I had all those privileges, but the good thing was that my family were very liberal-minded, and my mother used to campaign against apartheid.
Okay.
And I remember being quite shocked once because she came back, she had a black coat, and she came back with egg yolk stains all over it because she'd been standing on the town hall steps protesting against, because she was an actress, she was protesting against the fact that you weren't allowed, she couldn't have a black actor to play Othello. You couldn't have audiences, had to be white audiences separated from black audiences, not even in the same night. They had to have separate nights. And so she was always protesting against this. And my dad was very liberal, but we still lived within this convention of, nobody thought I should ever be a cook because basically cooks were black people.
Yeah.
And so nobody said, hey, would you like to be a cook? And we ate very well because we had a wonderful cook called Charlie. And he could have taught me to cook, but it never occurred to anybody. Everybody thought I'd go to university or maybe I'd go to drama school, which I did do. I went first to drama school and then I was hopeless at that. I was useless. So I then swapped I wanted to still be in the theatre. So I swapped to art school, and I was the boss of the art school stood behind me one day in a life drawing class, and he said, he was German. He said, "What are you doing in my?" I can't do German accent. What are you doing in my art school? And I said, "Well, I want to learn to draw because I want to be a stage designer." And he said, "I would give it up now if I was you."
Really?
So I did. And I was quite grateful because otherwise I could have spent 2 happy years or 3 happy years in art school and ended up still bad at it.
And so sort of back to these dishes that were being cooked for you, what would you say was like the one dish that really does remind you? You've mentioned the Christmas meal, but is there anything else?
No, I think that the most South African dish, every South African knows it and will love it. And it's called babooti. Okay. And it's actually it's a minced lamb dish. It's a bit like shepherd's pie, but it has apple and curry in it.
Oh, wow.
So it's slightly curried at the bottom, a layer of this wonderful mince. It has onions and all the usual things. So the layers of mince you put the apple in raw, and then on the top, instead of having mashed potato, you have, like the top of a moussaka. Custard, creamy.
Yes. It's like a bit like a bechamel.
Yes,
sort of. Yeah.
With egg yolks in it. It's a kind of savoury custard topping, and it is absolutely wonderful dish. It's great for entertaining because you could have it hot or cold. It freezes well. It reheats well. You can make it with leftover lamb or you can make it with fresh lamb, and it's babooti. It's the most wonderful dish.
That sounds delicious. And also I can imagine the apples sort of give it that bit of sweetness as well.
Yes, which is lovely with curry.
Yeah.
And it's not highly curried. It's just nice and spicy.
Ooh. I might want to try that.
It's really good.
So I think the food has just arrived. So I think we should have a little taste.
Okay.
And then we'll continue the chat.
Good. I'm always up for food.
So the food's arrived. There's two very different people in life, clearly. There's the Prues of the world that have gone for a beautiful fresh fruit plate. And there are the Hannahs of the world that...
Well, no, honestly, Hannah, normally I would have that sort of stuff. But I tell you what, I just had 3 weeks holiday.
Right, okay. Where were you?
In the Bahamas.
Oh, fine. All right, okay.
No, but
okay.
listen, I'll tell you why. And I thought, I must have, I felt so well. There was lots of sun, lots of sleeping. It was just lovely. And we ate, fresh fish and lots of salads and things. So I thought I must be losing weight. And I thought I've lost at least half a stone. This is great. And I came back and got on the step. I had put on half a stone.
Oh, right, okay.
So I said to my husband, how can that be? And he said, many calories do you think there are in a pina colada and a rum punch? And we must have had about 4 of them a day. And, pina colada is basically a heart attack in a glass.
Yeah, it is.
And a rum punch is, all over the Caribbean.
It's basically just liquid sugar.
They make it that big. It probably has 6 oranges, or so it's highly, and 6 oranges is probably about 400 calories, and then there's all the rum. So, and we had about 4 of them because it just feels like,
of course,
orange
God,
drink.
you know what, Prue? I knew I was going to like you. I feel like you and I could have quite a fun night out, actually. So you're sort of on a bit of a health kick.
I am absolutely trying to. Well, what I've been doing since I got back is having 1 meal a day. But you ruined that, because here we are in the middle of the day, and I've got to go out to dinner. So I thought I'd better.
I mean, it's fine. It's fruit. You'll be okay with a few little pieces. I've got. I think it's called the Park Lane Scramble, and it's scrambled eggs with guanciale, which is sort of the pig cheek.
Smoked
pig cheek, with some pecorino cheese on top. So it's a bit like a carbonara, but I'm not doing the carbs. There you go. So mine's basically protein.
If you're trying to pretend...
I know, I am. I just want to try it because I want to see what it's like. Hold on. Oh,
it's good, isn't it?
It is good. You might need to try this in a bit. It is lovely. And I also got a toasted bagel because...
I've got about as much willpower as...
Go on, try a little bit. But I want you to... It's a bit messy. Hold on. It's actually very nice. Make sure you get a bit of cheese. But the eggs are... I think I like my eggs a little wetter.
But maybe that's... if you're delivering room service...
Yeah.
It's a good idea to have the cheese and the bacon, because it becomes a different dish.
Absolutely.
And it lasts.
Yeah, it's a clever idea, though, actually.
It's really good.
It's like a deconstructed carbonara.
The pace of modern life can make us feel like we're always on the go. But Odyssey believes that slow food is the necessary antidote to the restlessness of it all. It brings us together, feeds conversation, creates new traditions, new rituals, and new stories. This is very much the ethos of Crazy Sexy Food. Feeding conversations through food, and good food at that. I'm so happy to be partnering with Odyssey on this season of the podcast. They've been scouring Greece and further afield for the finest food producers since 1991, bringing the highest quality flavours that the Mediterranean has to offer. Their range is carefully curated to include hand-selected, traditionally cured olives, award-winning honey from lovingly tended bees, and premium quality oils sourced from only the most acclaimed regional producers. Food is a way to get back in touch with the things that matter most and connect on new and deeper levels. And so the lovely people at Odyssey are offering Crazy Sexy Food listeners 15% off at odyssey.com using the code CSF15.
So, sort of moving on from your childhood, you eventually come to London, you attend the Cordon Bleu, and you end up setting up a business, which I'm sort of quite fascinated by because I think you were quite ahead of your time, supplying high quality lunches to businesses. What made you go down that route?
Well, it sort of happened by accident. I mean, while I was still at at the Cordon Bleu, I started working for caterers, evening jobs and weekend jobs. And I realized that catering, I really wanted to have a restaurant, but you can't have a restaurant if you don't have any money.
Yeah.
So and also, I didn't have any experience either. So I thought, I'll be a caterer because I can do that. All you really need is a bunch of knives and you can travel around.
Yeah.
So I was a cook for hire. So I really started with doing posh people's dinner parties. And that didn't always, sometimes it was, and you don't have to advertise because if you're any good, they tell their friends. And so, word of mouth and you get more and more jobs.
Yeah.
And one night I was doing a job in Holland Park for some very fancy lady. And I heard through the hatch, it was an old-fashioned kitchen, it was a dining room
I
and a
remember
hatch.
those, yeah.
And I could hear what they were saying. And one of the guests said, I really think this food is absolutely wonderful. You must give me the contact details of your cook because I'd like her to do my director's lunches. And the hostess said, oh, no, she's just there to wash up. She said, I did all the cooking. She said, I wouldn't dream of having a cook. She lays the table and she washes up and she's very useful. And I was so indignant, I wanted to open the hatch and put my head through and sort of put them right.
How bloody dare you?
But what I did was I put one of my little cards, which said Prue Leith, cook for hire or something, in every one of their jackets that were hanging in the hall, all the guests' clothes. And the next day, that guy rang me up and he said, he was the boss of a big publishing company, and he said, he said, I really... I thought your cooking was absolutely excellent. He said, but I was more impressed with your marketing skills.
I was about to say, that was brilliant of you.
He thought my marketing skills were pretty good. So I started with him. But I love doing directors' lunches, and I love doing, most hostesses were very, very nice, And it's a really good way to start a catering career because you don't have to lay out any money. Very often the woman you were working for, she would do the shopping and you would just go and cook it.
But, sort of taking it back to what you were saying about your childhood and sort of growing up in this South Africa that was very divided, and you sort of mentioned, you would never have thought of being a cook because that wasn't the sort of the done thing, so to speak. So how did your parents feel when you did embark on this career?
They were terrifically supportive. In fact, my dad was dead by the time I'd finally found what I wanted to do. He died when I was only 20. But poor guy, I often felt I wanted to say to, look, Dad, I wasn't totally flaky, because by the time I got to cooking, I had already had a go at, as I said, theatre and art, architecture, a BA. I wanted to be a translator, so I went to Paris to learn French. And each time they had paid for another course for me to do something differently. And then finally I wanted to be a cook.
You sort of found your place. Mm-hmm. You then did go on to open up a restaurant.
I did.
You opened up Leith's in Notting Hill.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people, and we spoke about this before the recording, you then went on to open up Leith's Cookery School, which you told me quite an interesting story kind of about why you opened that up in the first place.
Well, by then I had quite a big catering company. And I'd started in about 1962 or something. And by the end of the 60s, I had, a very substantial catering company. And I had opened a restaurant, which finally got a Michelin star, but it took a while. At that stage, I didn't have a Michelin star. But it was very successful, and I was probably employing, I suppose, about 100 people at that stage in the restaurant and the catering company. And so I was desperate for more good staff. And I felt trapped between, at that time, young men went to, working class young men went to catering college. posh young men went into the city. I'm
Right.
generalising.
Yeah.
I'm generalising. Posh young girls could be cooks because they'd be chalet girls, or it would be a good career, a good thing to learn so they could be excellent wives, you know. So posh young women went to catering, to cookery school. And so I had these two types of cooks to choose from. And I found that the young lads who had been to catering college were really good at knife skills. I mean, they learnt the techniques, but they had no love of food. They didn't eat what they'd cooked. I remember going to a catering college once, and this guy had the most wonderfully fresh squid and fresh langoustine and stuff that they were dealing with. And he was dealing with them beautifully. They're not easy to prepare. And he was doing it excellently. And I said, God, you're so lucky to get such great ingredients. He said, I wouldn't need that.
Oh, wow.
And they were not required to taste anything.
Gosh.
And I remember Alberu and I going off to judge a competition for catering students somewhere up in the north. And we refused to judge it because the judging sheet did not have flavour as one of the things that it was all about. Nutrition levels, they cared about that. Appearance, texture,
but not the
variety,
actual
colour,
taste.
and all this. But not. I said. We both said, "Where's the flavour?" And they said, "Oh well, we don't worry too much about that. If they do everything technically right, it will taste good."
Gosh.
And so we said, "Well, we're not judging it until you add flavour to this."
Good for you.
I mean, so the taste of it was important, but then so I basically working class boys in catering college were terrifically good at technique and knew nothing about where food came from. They weren't interested in the provenance. They didn't taste the food. Girls, on the other hand, who had probably a more middle class and more moneyed upbringing, were used to going to Spain and eating paella, and they were there because they liked cooking and they were interested in food. And we wanted to turn out students who could do both. The technique would be good, they'd be great for the profession, but they would know where their ingredients come from. They would care about, sustainability and provenance and they had to have a love of food.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I think with anything you do, and also, I mean, it shocks me that these guys were taught to just it was sort of like all substance, no
heart.
Yeah,
I mean,
fascinating.
some of them were very good, and I don't imagine all colleges were like that, but certainly it was a distinct. I wanted to combine the two, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I wanted to have a college of my own. And one day I was watching Caroline Waldegrave, who was our principal, and she was talking to a girl who was. She became our principal, but at this point she was the head chef in my catering company, and she had an arm round a young girl who was on her first week there, first day I think, and the girl had been crying, and. Because it's quite stressful your first day in a big kitchen. And she said, and she was saying to her, look, the first day is always hell, but I promise you, you're doing fine. You've got absolutely, this is the right place for you. You're going to be great. But she said, in 3 days' time, I promise you, you'll know that you love it here. And then she said, so that was all very encouraging. And then she said, but the thing is, we do cut the carrots like this.
So there was still a little bit of it.
So she was being firm, but very encouraging. And I thought she's a born teacher because she's absolutely clear what students, in fact, employees, anybody, all they want is to know what is expected of them. Yeah. They want to be told what they must do, and it be encouraging. So I thought, we've got to have we need a cookery school, and Caroline needs to lead it. So that's what we did.
So that's what you did. And I know that, obviously nowadays you're not a part of it, but the school is literally around the corner from me. Yeah, I'm a local girl, and who knows, maybe one day I will
pop in there.
Pop in there and do a little something. Hopefully we're all about flavour rather than just the looks of it.
Well, they're very keen on the looks as well.
Yeah.
I mean, these days you need to be because, food has become, it's such a competitive thing. And so people are enormously inventive. And I think one of the things that Leith School has always done is keep up with what's going on in the gastronomic world.
Yeah.
It's easy to get stuck in a rut and just teach the same thing over and over again.
Absolutely. I'm going to fast forward through all the wonderful books that you've written, all the other TV shows, because I can't have you on the bed with me and not talk about the phenomenon that is the Great British Bake Off. I love how I'm saying that, and now she's onto the fruit. But I guess, what a show. You weren't the judge from the get-go, but you're sort of this nation sweetheart that comes on our screen sort of once a year for however many weeks it runs for. I mean, what is this experience like for you? Because I have to say, it is one of those shows that is just such a feel-good show.
Isn't it?
It's just, it works. It just works. You don't even need to be into food or baking. There's just something about it.
It's extraordinary. I mean, I was at a conference yesterday, full of more men than women there, business one, and I can't tell you how many middle-aged men came up to me and said, we always watch Bake Off. I absolutely love Bake Off. I think it's a kind of release, and it's something that the whole family can watch together. Yeah. And it is very warm and friendly, and it's not fake.
Yeah.
I have never heard, I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's absolutely true. I've been on Bake Off I've done 7 years. This will be my 8th year. And I have never heard anybody quarrel, anybody raise their voice, anybody shout at anybody among the crew or the contestants or anything. I mean, yes, occasionally the contestants burst into tears because they've all gone wrong. But some of the cameramen have been there since the beginning for 15 years, and they're still there because they love it. And it's a lovely company to work for. It's called Love Productions who make it, and my husband always says that it's love by name and love by nature, because when he arrives on the set, he said he always says, I get 40 snogs before I meet the wife.
And I was about to say, is that just from you? No, that's from everyone else.
That's from everyone else before he gets to me.
I love that. I mean, for people that sort of don't understand, sort of behind the scenes of how a lot of these shows work, the process is quite intense. I have met quite a few contestants over the years, and I've sort of tried to sort of pry out of them all of like the secrets. But, aside from it being this very warming show, there is this element of tension at times.
Absolutely.
Because there is something about baking, and I love baking, that sometimes can be quite anxiety inducing. And it's like we put all this pressure onto this one batch of cookies or this cake or something that needs to rise. And there is something quite fascinating watching that tension.
I think that's one of the great secrets of it, because it's taken really seriously.
Yeah.
Both Paul and I want to see perfect bakes. So the expectation is very high.
Yeah.
They've had, the bakers to get there have had 6 months of intense practicing and competition, and then finally, sending in the bake. Getting through the process of actually getting onto Bake Off is enormously difficult. And there they are, they're finally there, and they don't want to mess it up. I mean, they've spent 6 months of their lives getting there, and they don't want to mess it up. And they suddenly realise, and the tension grows during the series, because they realise that, my God, there is a chance I could actually win.
Absolutely.
And of course, any one of them could win. People always say to us, can you tell at the beginning who's going to win? No, you haven't a clue. I mean, if you think, thousands and thousands of people apply to Bake Off, and we've got 12 which have been judged to be the best out of these thousands. So of course they could all win Bake Off. They're all up to it. And they all know that. They know that they're in with a chance. So of course they're very anxious and tense. But they're also, I mean, for example, Alison Hammond is just wonderfully good at relaxing
I
them.
love her.
Everybody loves her.
She
is just about
another national treasure, I'd
she
say.
is such a force of nature. She cannot be anything but herself. So she bounces in. In fact, on her first week, I was watching the other day her very first show, and she came sort of dancing onto the set, saying, "I'm on makeup." She was so excited because she longed to be.
But you can feel it as a viewer as well. You know, you can sense
real.
that.
It's absolutely real. She doesn't, it's not put on. That's exactly how she is, and she can't help saying what she wants to say. And one day, when she was really very new, she said to a baker, she said, "Oh my God," she said, "that is so delicious." She said, "I can tell you one thing, you are not going home." She said,
"Oh no, don't tell me that."
I said, "Alison, you can't say that." Yeah. I mean, he could cock up tomorrow. And
you will be home.
Because it's always what you've done on that day.
Of course. I need to ask, I mean, I know you're, as we said, we're sort of on your health kick at the moment. How do you deal with eating all of those bakes, all of that sugar?
Do you know, it's not a problem, because if you think about it, even if there are 12 bakers in there and we're judging the showstopper, if I'm clever and I can get a teaspoon that gets a bit of icing, a bit of filling, and a bit of cake, it's only a teaspoon. Yeah. There's 12 teaspoons. And if you do that, twice in the first day when we do the first 2 challenges, and then once on the next day, it's not that much. Yeah. But I don't eat breakfast and I don't eat lunch, so I basically I get my calories.
So that's the secret. Yeah. You sort of don't eat either side.
I don't. But Paul doesn't get fat, and he eats everything, including breakfast and lunch. I mean, some people just can do it, can't they?
And what, for you, in your eyes, I mean, what are you looking for in a good baker?
I think you need to be calm to be a good baker, although there are some who panic away and still turn up wonderful food. But the best bakers generally are very methodical and calm and enjoy the exactness of baking. Baking is a very exact science. You can't mess around with the quantities without realizing the consequences of that. And so you have to be quite knowledgeable. But I'm not a very good baker because I'm impatient.
This shocks me.
Yeah, no, people think I'm a great baker. I'm a cook, baker? I'm not a baker. I'm a set of taste buds.
Okay.
I'm good at judging.
You're good at trying it.
I'm good at eating it. I'm not so good at making it. I mean,
really?
I can make a good cake. I make good cakes, but I don't have the nature that, when I first started my catering company, I used to make the wedding cakes. And in those days, the fashionable thing about wedding cakes was endless trellising with icing, a tiny little nozzle to your piping bag, and you'd make these little fences around with 2 or 3 layers of loops, and tiny little. And you have to do this for 3 cakes. It's incredibly boring and time-consuming, and sort of, if you make a mistake, it's a real problem. And so, not my kind of thing. The thing about cooking is it doesn't matter if you like garlic, you can shove in an extra couple of.
But with baking, it's a bit more scientific in that sense.
It is.
Speaking of baking, we also were given some pastries. I just thought I'd get a bit technical here. There's great lamination, isn't there, on those croissants?
Let's show it to the camera.
Hats off to the team here.
That is very, very beautiful lamination. What is that? Oh, yum.
That looks nice.
Take it away. Take it away.
Well, I might just
put
I'll put it on the side. If you want some, I won't judge you. Don't worry. I do also have to ask about your co-host, lovely Paul Hollywood, with his sexy blue eyes. What's he like to work with? Because he does have this persona. He's the slightly tough one. You're the one that's a little bit more, lenient on certain things. Is that just him?
Yes. I mean, he's a very good baker. And he really wants it to be perfect. But the interesting thing is, although he does look tougher than me, when we compare our scores, and of course we have scores, so otherwise we'd forget who did what. But you don't see that. But when we look at them, I mean, we're never, ever apart more than one.
Wow.
I mean, he might give it 7 and I'll give it 6, or I'll give it, more likely I'll give it 7 and he'll give it 6. So, no, but you know, it's fascinating about Paul Hollywood, because I just recently did a one-woman show, and I did 35 theatres all over Britain. And we had questions in the second half. And without fail, somebody would ask me, are Paul Hollywood's eyes really that blue?
No.
Yeah. Are they contact lenses, or are they blue? Or they'd ask me, is this tan fake, or is it out of a bottle? And so I can assure your viewers
he is all real.
He's all real. The blue eyes are real, not contact lenses. The tan is so real that it's quite maddening. If it's very hot summer, and the judges get a lot of time off while everybody's baking. We used to have hammocks. In fact, I hope we will have it again this summer. We have hammocks in the garden. And so we'll go and lie in the sun while everybody else is working. And Paul, if he lies in the sun for 20 minutes, when he comes back, the makeup people complain that continuity is out the window because
he catches the sun so quickly.
So quickly and dark. He goes, and he never goes red. He just goes brown straight
He's got that
away.
lovely skin tone.
I know.
I'm going to ask you a couple personal questions. I know you said you're not a great baker, but maybe you might have some tips for me. I'm going through a really weird phase at the moment where I love pretzels.
I hate pretzels.
Oh, Prue!
I'm not going to help you with pretzels. I think pretzels are the work of the devil.
What? What's happening right now? What? Are we talking about like the big soft ones? Not the crunchy ones you get in a packet.
Well, they're disgusting. But the crunchy ones are disgusting. The big soft ones are sort of not worth it. You know, they're a bit salty, they're a bit sweet, they're a bit tough.
Prue, we were doing so well.
I
thought we were going to be here all day. I was going to start ordering the drinks. Everything was going to happen.
I'm not going to
I don't know what's happening now. So you got no tips for me? Nothing. That's it.
Don't do it. Don't make pretzels. Make something delicious.
What is actually your favourite thing? If you are going to go bake something, what's your thing?
What I tend to bake a lot of is a polenta cake, which is orange, with oranges or lemons in it. I love that. And that's actually flourless, it's just lots of ground almonds and polenta. It's divine cake. The best recipe is in the River Cafe cookbook.
Okay, right.
Wonderful. So I make a lot of that. I do chocolate chip cookies because I can freeze the dough, and then if somebody comes with grandchildren around, I can bung them in the oven. What I do love to make, if I have time, and actually I've now got a really quick way of doing it, is a tarte normande, where you get really good, rich short crust pastry, and then a layer of frangipani.
Gorgeous.
Sort of almost like marzipan, lots of almonds and cream and sugar in there, and then apples on top and apricot jam on top. Very classic French tarte normande, which I'm now dribbling because I'm thinking.
She's
about
looking
it.
at her fruit plate, thinking I should order something else.
I'm thinking, this is very beautiful fruit plate, I have to say.
It is actually. It's lovely.
But a slab of tarte normande would be more satisfying.
As she puts a bit of melon in her mouth. Right. I always finish my conversations with a few quick fire questions. What is the craziest food you've ever eaten?
I think mapani worms, which are a kind of caterpillar.
Oh, good.
They're very great delicacy in Africa, especially Venderland.
Okay. Give me what's the taste?
They're horrible. They are sort of leathery on the outside.
Oh, no.
And squishy in the middle.
No. That sounds like something out like I'm a celebrity.
You know what? The thing about, I'm a great believer in that one day we'll all be eating insects, but the insects are delicious if they're deep fried because everything is delicious.
Fantastic. I couldn't agree more. I was in Brazil last year and I tried ants. Have you had ants before?
Yeah.
They're actually quite nice. They taste like lemongrass.
Yeah, they are good.
I would eat those again.
I walked in Phnom Penh in Cambodia on the riverfront. I think it's only one day a week, but they have a fair which is just insects. And you go walk all the way down, and they're absolutely delicious. I have slightly balked at the tarantulas.
No.
Because they'd be squashy still.
Yeah, no, I'm all right.
I like them when they're all deep fried and
like
crunchy.
a cricket, or like maybe a cricket or a cockroach. If it's deep fried, will become very crispy, I guess. But very high in protein. They're saying that this is sort of...
It is the way forward.
Yeah. Well, you heard it here first. Okay, next question. What's been your most memorable meal?
Do you know, I think my uncle grilling fish on the beach on a, sort of open fire, on fish that he'd caught. And we often did it. He was a great fisherman, and he would catch these beautiful yellowtail and put a bit of foil around them, cook them over. Delicious. And we'd eat it on the beach.
Heaven.
I think there's something wonderful about eating on the beach. When I was a child, can I have a quick, long answer?
Yeah, no, here we look at that. There, I'm like, oh yeah, all right, here we go.
Here we go. When I was a child, my nanny used to have a packet of biscuits that were like rich teas. They were called Mari biscuits, and she would butter them. Open the packet, butter the top one, sprinkle hundreds and thousands. Those little coloured thingies on the top, and give them to me and my brothers, one, and then she'd do another one for Jamie, another one for David, another one for me. And I would sit there getting really anxious because I knew that when the packet ran out, there'd be one or two over. Either I'd miss out, and I spent the whole time worrying that I wouldn't be the one who got the...
If there was like an odd number or something.
I wanted that. I wanted the extra one.
Oh, that's very sweet. I feel like I'm still am that person sometimes, making sure I'm not missing out on something. Okay, this is a very important question, possibly the most important question you're going to get asked.
All right.
My favourite snack of all time is a packet of crisps. What is... you just shook your head. You're making me nervous. What is your favourite flavour of crisps and why? If you dare say...
I hate them all. I'm sorry, but I think crisps are... I mean, I do occasionally eat one, and it would be dead plain if I had. But it's sort of... I mean, they're crisp. That's all they are. They don't have... No, I don't like crisps. It's a waste of calories.
I actually don't know if I've ever been so speechless.
It's pretzel. They're just like pretzels. They're the same as pretzels. They're horrible.
How do we come back from it? Okay, hold on. Okay, so if you're going to do it, you'll just do a ready salted.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to have to just leave. I'm going to leave that there. We're going to leave that there. That's fine. It's fine. I still love you, but we're just going to leave it there. What food sums up happiness for you?
Do you know, I think something like cassoulet, or some sort of big stew. And it's me at the end of the table dolloping out something really simple and delicious for lots of family and friends. I'm really gregarious. I love to feed people. And I think that's the problem with most chefs and cooks. They really like feeding people.
Something
that's what
comforting and sort of, especially sharing
something like cassoulet.
Yeah, also sharing those big pots with family.
Yeah, exactly.
Something about the love and
I always make soup. We have lunch every day at home whenever I'm at home. We'll do it when I'm not there too. And I make soup. I make soup out of almost anything, and because I'm a great leftover queen, I can't bear to waste anything.
Oh, that's good.
So we always have in the freezer pots and pots of homemade soup. And we have that with bread and cheese every day. It's lovely.
Okay, super quick fire. Chocolate or vanilla?
Oh, chocolate, I think.
Sweet or savoury?
Both. No?
No.
Savoury.
She says after she told me she doesn't eat crisps. Yeah. I don't know what I'm doing with all of this. Okay, and final question. Live to eat or eat to live?
I guess I'd have to say live to eat.
Yay, we're back on track. Prue, honestly, thank you so much for joining me on this episode. It's such a huge honour for me.
Well, it's been good
fun. I think
fun.
You're fabulous, and I can't wait to just continue seeing you on our screens forever and ever.
I have to say, I don't think your life's too bad. I mean, sitting in a fancy hotel...
Darling,
room service while you do a podcast.
And I just put my hand up and said yes. Until next time.
Thank you for listening. If you love what you hear, please subscribe and review. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram @CrazySexyFood. Until next time, bye.